puppy. Welcome to our live interview with Shawnna and Brian from Life Uninterrupted. Shawnna and Brian are new affiliates, and we're really excited to be working with them. Today, we're going to be talking about RVing full-time, boondocking, and their growing YouTube channel. We're also going to discuss some information on their, very informative website and their plans for the future. Stick around. You don't want to miss it. If you have questions for Shawnna or Brian or myself, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Good morning. My name is Jim Hoffman. I'm the VP of Operations at Wholesale Warranties. We're excited to have Life Uninterrupted on our live interview today. Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to sit down with us. We truly appreciate it. This is a really cute puppy.
Thank you. It's one of two.
Yeah. One of two? Or is the other one camera shy?
The other one's taking a nap. This one always wants to be on camera. So she was pawing out my leg while we were recording.
That's awesome. We're excited to get to know Shawnna and Brian and what they've been up to. But before we start, we just want to let our viewers and customers know that we're here for you during this difficult time. We want to dedicate this platform and this space to bringing you a little bit of joy during this stressful time, and give the opportunity to chat and discuss everything amazing about the RV lifestyle. Obviously, everybody's living in a different world than they were a couple weeks back. So hopefully there's a joy or a smile or maybe some useful information that we can share with all. How are you guys doing these days?
We're doing well.
As well as can be expected.
Yeah.
It's, as you said, challenging times. I think even more so for those of us that live full-time on the road. But the great thing about this community and the people that serve us is that they understand that. So by and large, no matter where we go, we've pretty much been welcomed and taken care of. So
we have. Yeah, it's true.
And I think we have been having a lot of discussions in-house and the idea of either full-time or RVing, how almost like satisfying that is going, how much that has to be great for you guys, where when you're traveling, you don't have to try to find a hotel and are they open, are they closed, are they housed?
Right.
It's medical professionals or whatever. You have your sanctuary that is nice and clean and all that stuff. So that's really good. Where are you guys currently staying right now?
We are at a RV park in Quartzsite, Arizona, and we've been here for well, not at the RV park, but Quartzsite for
since March 25th.
Yeah, so a month.
Yes.
Okay.
Mostly camping out in the desert. So
yes, we had to move into an RV park because the temperatures will start getting close to 100.
Yeah.
And that's too hot to boondock. Yeah, for us and the pups.
Now, some of our RVers have expressed difficulty finding a place to go. Are you guys finding that with your travels? Or are you seeing that kind of out in the social media and whatnot?
We have to some extent, more so in states like California. In fact, part of our plan leaving here was to travel partly through California, and we're finding that most RV parks, they're not allowing extended stays. Overnight stays is about it.
Right.
So, we're running into those sorts of things.
Right. No new reservations, and if they're allowing you to come in, it's going to be for one night.
Right.
Just passing through, basically.
Nice. Okay. Kind of want to get to know you guys a little bit more and how you started the RV experience and thus far on the road. How long have you guys been RVing now?
Well, we've been RVing in some fashion for well over 20 years. Started out in a small tent camper and kind of worked our way up to the Class A motorhome we have now. But full timing has only been a year.
Yes, yes, we're hitting our 1 year anniversary here.
Right.
Congratulations.
And full timing is entirely different. It's entirely different mindset and a way of doing things than weekend warrior or an occasional camper that goes out for a week or so on a trip. An entirely different way of living.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever think you'd be living that lifestyle? A full year of full timing?
Not at all. This time last year, of course, we knew that we were going to do it. We didn't have any idea what was in store for us, but back up 4 or 5, even 10 years ago, wasn't even, we couldn't conceptualize that. We always thought it was just for retirees, and that was pretty much it. We had no idea of the lifestyle whatsoever.
Yeah. And Brian was the first to come up with the idea, and then he had to sell me on it. In the beginning, I was like, that's not a thing. People don't do that. Yeah. You don't just sell everything, give up your home, everything that you have, and jump in an RV and go travel the US until you're retired. So
Right.
It took a little
quite a bit of selling on his end.
Yes.
Initially, but once we started watching a lot of other YouTubers that were doing it, it made things easier. So at some point we said, hey, we can do this. There's a certain amount of planning that has to happen in order for that to be successful. So we made sure we did all of that prior to setting out. And, you know, we've taken some lumps this past year, but, you know, you take the good with the bad. So.
Expected, yes.
Yeah. Nice. It's always a fun question to find out what your prior lives were like before going full-time RVing. So maybe where you guys were living, what you guys were doing.
Yeah, so we lived in Gilbert, Arizona. I'm a native of Arizona, and Brian's actually from Indiana, but we were living in Arizona at the time, and we both had pretty stressful corporate jobs, worked way more than, you know, the typical 40 hours a week. We had the home maintenance, we had a swimming pool, we had toys that all needed to be taken care of, and it seemed like our lives were really working Monday through Friday. We'd get a day to ourselves on Saturday, but that was usually just running errands. And then Sunday we were back at it again, getting prepped for work, and that was our life, and it was pretty much that kind of a routine. So there wasn't a lot of time for vacation or time to go out and explore. We didn't have a lot of freedom, I guess is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and then once we started having to hire people and pay people to take care of our stuff because we work too much or we're too busy to do those things, we said, yeah, that's insanity. So we have to stop that. So.
Right. And really, these guys were the only ones occupying our house for the most part, you know, 10, 12 hours a day. And we weren't there. We weren't living, so to speak.
Right.
We weren't living the lives that we wanted to live.
Yeah, we knew there was something else out there for us.
Right.
So.
Right.
Sounds like it was kind of twofold. One, you were doing a lot of working to live a short amount of time.
Yes.
Right.
Two, wasn't really fair to the pups, if I'm just going to read in between the lines a little bit.
True. Yeah, they were by themselves most of the time, and we would come home and they would just be all over us, you know, much like a child would, I suppose.
Yeah.
But, you know, they seem to be happier now.
Although I'm sure they are.
It's kind of interesting to watch their reactions whenever we hop in our rig and we go someplace and we open the door for the first time and they peek their head out. They're like, "Where are we now?"
Yes, it is funny.
Just sort of shocked look on their face.
They'll stand on the first step and just look around like, "What is this?"
It's like a new Disneyland every time the door opens.
Yes, exactly.
Before I go out, let me just look around, see what I want to see first. That's awesome.
That's right.
Now, you guys recently completed a boondocking challenge, and I am stoked to hear about this. So what was it? What were the conditions? What was the experience like?
So we prefer to actually get away and, you know, dry camp or boondock. We're not huge fans of RV parks. They're necessary in some cases, like when it's really hot out. We need air conditioning for the dogs, but you know, we started out, you know, just to see what we could do, how long we could go. And one thing that I made sure that I did to our coach before leaving on this this odyssey, if you will, is to make sure that it was outfitted for doing that. So some changes we made to the rig were adding solar power, lithium batteries. You don't necessarily have to have all of those things, but if you want to stay extended times like we do, you need to kind of prep your rig a little bit differently. Ways of conserving water and electricity. It's a mind shift so that you can't leave the faucet running and while you brush your teeth like you do at home. You take that for granted, right?
Right.
So, but it was interesting, and again, it's just making those little changes, those little mind shifts to say you have to do something entirely different than when you're plugged into electrical power. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got us, Brian got us all set up for that. Did you mention the composting toilet?
Right, so we conserve a lot of water. We changed our RV sewage system so that we reduce the amount of water we use, and we can go extended periods of time So that certainly helps.
Yes. And in the past, when we were weekend warriors, so to speak, we did a lot of boondocking at that time.
Right.
But again, that was just for a week. And we knew that we were going to have some extended periods along the way as we traveled across the U.S. And it is really our preferred method of living is off-grid. There's just a sense of freedom and beauty in the places that we're able to stay. And so we wanted to do 30 days. That was a challenge for us because we had never done 30 days before. And we chose to do it in the Southwest, in the desert area where the temperatures are wonderful.
In the wintertime.
Yeah,
Sure.
in the
wintertime.
in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Let's be clear on that. And yeah, so we did move around a little bit within the Southwest. We started in Quartzsite. We went to Parker, Arizona, Lake Havasu, Lake Mead. Did I leave anything out?
Yuma.
Yes.
Yuma.
Yeah, and so we did 30 days. Actually, that was after the 30 days.
That's
but
true.
We did the 30 days, and it was a great opportunity to test our systems, to test us, to make sure that we were able to conserve and see how that goes. And
Even the dogs. I mean,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Even you guys. But it was a great opportunity, and it was a precursor to what we're living now. So I am so glad that we were able to go through that when we had the option to do it versus what we just did out in the Quartzsite Desert because of the self-quarantine part of this,
Yeah.
the whole social distancing. We had to do that.
Right.
And at that point, we already had tested our systems, and we kind of knew what we could do and what we couldn't do. We knew our limitations.
And that actually brings up a kind of a shifting gears, not shifting gears, but so when you guys plan to go full-time boondocking, Brian, you were saying that, you know, the solar and the lithium, and I noticed on your website you have some of those things available, because that, to me, if I'm looking, not only if I wanted to boondock for a long time, but also with the quarantine and, hey, it's only one night here and, you know, those things night there, equipping your rig, whether it be solar, conserving water, lithium batteries, I mean, those things are important, but personally, selfishly speaking, I would have zero idea on how to do that or where to start. And I'm assuming that if people have questions or initial research, it'd be good to go to your guys' website, take a look on there, things on those lines.
That, look at our blog. We have a couple of videos up online on our YouTube channel that kind of showcase, doesn't get into a lot of depth, but it just kind of showcases sort of our week 1, 2, 3, and 4 boondocking challenge, if you will. And, you know, so backing up a little bit, you know, if you want to go out and dry camp, you can certainly do that with most RVs.
Right.
When you start getting into 2, 3, 4 weeks, anything past a month or so, you're going to need a little bit different setup, much like we have, to be able to prolong your stay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Good point. So one of the questions that I have, and I try to do it with the kids at night, and I ask them what was the most challenging part of your day, and then what was the happiest part of your day. But kind of with you guys now that you've been RVing for about a year full time, what would you say is the best part of RVing, and is there, or what is one of kind of the learning lessons or the worst part?
I'll take the best, you take the worst.
So it's easy to go to the dark side, but we try always to think of the positive things first. So
yeah, so the best thing is the freedom to go and see and do, and we're seeing things that we would never have gone on vacation to go see. We're discovering new places that we didn't even know existed, and just the freedom and the opportunity to go and see has really been one of the best parts of this. Yeah, and there's a second one. I think these are probably even. The community that we have met along the way, the other full-time RVers, and not necessarily just full-time, but the other RVers that we've met are the nicest, kindest people that we have ever met. We've never met so many people in our past life. We have never met so many people in this life. I'm not saying that right. I think you know what I mean.
What you're saying.
Well,
yes.
And also to expound on that, starting our YouTube channel was something we didn't take seriously at first. It was just sort of something we wanted to do and try. So after a year, we have well over 15,000 subscribers now. So that is an extended community of people that are like-minded as well. And the support and encouragement we get from our subscribers is awesome.
Yes.
And it helps us through some of those dark times.
Yes.
So
yes. So to sum mine up, it's just the RV community and the freedom to just go and explore.
right.
Yeah.
And the first 6 months, we traveled through 18 states, over 8,000 miles.
Wow.
So, who gets to do that? Not many people.
Yeah. No, I couldn't. Are you guys gonna share the bad thing?
Yes.
Oh, the bad thing. Well, gosh, I guess the bad thing is much like living in sticks and bricks. I mean, things are going to break. And when they break, it's much more difficult to find some place that you can trust to get the work done properly and quickly. So that's always kind of a stressor that's kind of up there, because our house is something that rolls down the road, and it's subjected to about a 6.2 earthquake every time we move.
Right.
So there's always that little bit of reservation that something might happen at any time, and then where are you going to go to get those fixed? So those are really kind of the things that kind of concern me.
Yes. And then that actually happened to us. It was one of our biggest fears going into this lifestyle was, what if our motorhome breaks down?
Right.
And lo and behold,
Yeah.
when we were 2,000 miles away from where we needed to be at that time, we ended up having to replace our engine. And it took us out of our motorhome. We had to stay in a hotel for a certain period of time. And
About 2 weeks.
and we're in a place that we didn't know.
Right.
We were facing some huge expenses. We didn't know, at that time, we didn't actually know that we needed to have our engine replaced. Right. It was just this big, oh my God, what's wrong with our motorhome? And then not knowing where we're going to live and all of that. So that's probably the worst.
Yeah. But that's all behind us now. So
It is. Well, and now if and when scenario stresses like that come up, there are resources out there available. But I want to circle back to what you guys articulated as the best, because in some of our conversations, we rely on the RV community. We do our best to support the RV community. And now with everything that's going on, obviously local, state, federal, and globally, we couldn't kind of be more excited that we feel that there's going to be a lot more interest in the idea of getting in an RV and going and seeing Mount Rushmore or
absolutely
something like that versus traveling internationally for spring break or whatever that may be.
Right.
And we often just internally talk about how great the RV community is. And I think you guys are a great ambassador to that. And your following, to me, symbolizes how valuable you are in the RV community. And I don't think there could be a better group of people to kind of welcome some new people in who are like, you know what, and instead of taking a plane down to Mexico or over to Australia or whatever, we're going to get in a rig or a towable and we're going to go see the States for a handful of different reasons on what's going on. But we often talk about how impressive the RV community is. And I think you guys are a shining star in that regard. But that said, what advice would you share for like new RVers? What do you wish you may have known before being like, you know what, we're taking the dogs, we're leaving the work, and we're taking off?
Well, I think in some aspects we were a bit naive, and so I would say to someone who is thinking about embarking on this lifestyle is you can't plan too much for success. And what I mean by that is make sure you have a financial plan. You set aside money for emergencies, whether that be repairs, health costs, whatever those things are.
Yes.
And there are a couple of ways about, that I decided to go about making sure that we had enough money in an emergency fund to take care of our rig, whether that be a warranty, like wholesale warranties, or self-insuring. But definitely make those plans, whatever fits best for you. I would say make sure you have enough money to fix the things that are going to break. It's going to happen.
Yes.
I wish someone would have said, it's going to be a lot more expensive than you think, because it really can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sneak up on you. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. And then the other one that I would say that kind of snuck up on us was the amount of planning that is required to get from point A to point B. We are constantly making decisions, and there's actually a term for that.
It's decision fatigue.
Yes, decision fatigue. It's going to happen, and it's just you need to have a plan A and you need to have a plan B all the time. And that wasn't something that we necessarily thought of or that we were aware of, because again, we were weekend warriors. We knew we were going from point A to point B. We had that pretty well planned out and set, and that's not the way it is. But that's also a big part of the fun in this lifestyle, is because we may be headed to A and that doesn't turn out right, and B turns out even better. So there's a plus and a minus to it.
And we're not huge planners, so we plan, honestly, we only plan about maybe 2 or 3 weeks out. We don't plan 4 or 5 months.
Right.
For us, that's just more enjoyable. It doesn't, it kind of takes the pressure off of making sure we have those plans laid out for that long duration. So that's just us.
Yeah.
No, and that's, I mean, that strikes home. That's a good, I think there's many out there, myself included, that said, okay, if I'm going to kind of start doing this and I'm going to commit to it, I would want the 2 or 3 month plan. But it also makes sense to be like, hey, just small increments at a time, and your plan will work itself out as it sees fit.
Right. Be flexible.
Right. That is key. You have to be flexible in this lifestyle, because if you plan too far out and you think those are set in stone, lo and behold, something's going to happen and those plans change, and you have to go back and revise those plans. Right. It happens to us more often than not.
That's right.
Okay. So let's talk about life uninterrupted. You guys, you obviously decided to go full time. You created a website that has a vast amount of information on it. You have a YouTube channel that has a great following. You know, not all full timers find that path to discuss their journey with others. How did that all kind of come about?
I think you started it, actually.
Yeah, it kind of started with, once I had talked to Shawnna about making the change, shifting from traditional life to this lifestyle, we said, hey, let's start capturing some of the stuff on video, upload it to YouTube, see what happens. We initially started that for family and friends, and it's kind of grown since then. And then the companion blog that came about because of those videos to kind of fill in some gaps and that sort of thing. And that's just kind of the genesis of it.
Yeah.
Nothing real complicated or,
I love it. Just organic growth from just a concept of sharing with friends and family.
Very organic. Yeah.
And a big part of that was the very beginning, when we were going through the process of selling our home and downsizing. We thought that might be interesting or information that others might be interested in. So that's what started it. And then we continued down the path.
Okay. So putting your lives out there and sharing, the journey with not only friends and family, but now kind of the general public and the RV community, what's kind of been one of the biggest surprises that you guys have encountered sharing all this?
A lot of surprises. Again, you take the good with the bad, and you put yourself out there, you have to expect a certain amount of that. But I think the biggest thing, and whenever life on the road, it's going to get you down at some point, right? Especially times like now. But when I start thinking about those things, I look at our subscriber base and all the interest we have in what we do, and the people that like us, and I say, wow, there are some 1980s rockers out there today that can't even fill a stadium with 15,000 fans, and we have 15,000 fans that enjoy watching us, enjoy what we do. So that's kind of how I keep things in perspective.
Keeps you motivated.
Kind of like a rock star.
If that makes sense.
Oh, of course. No, and that's
fun about that is we've met so many people along the way because of that, because of our YouTube channel, and because of our blogs and on Instagram. When we actually get to meet some of those people in person, it is so wonderful to find out how much we have in common. Right. I love that. We have an instant connection, which is great.
That's true. We've had a meetup where a person has traveled almost an hour and a half from where they live to come see us. And I thought, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, no, that's a huge compliment in my opinion. So you've been full-timing for about a year. you mentioned a pretty decent stint on miles driven. Tell us about some of the places you've been so far. Maybe like a top 2 or 3 of places you've.
So my mind always goes back to South Dakota. If you've never been to South Dakota, the countryside, the mountains, the hills, the flatlands, the grasslands, badlands, there's just such variety.
All the lands.
Just
all the lands.
Yeah, just such variety there. I have a fondness for South Dakota, so that is one of my top places that whenever I say where should we go next, my mind goes there.
Yeah, and South Dakota was not a destination that we ever aspired to go to. That just it wasn't on the list, our bucket
Wasn't
list.
a plan A.
No, and the only reason we went there was so that we could get our residency or a domicile in South Dakota. But oh my gosh, it turned out to be one of our most favorite places. If you've never been to South Dakota, you've got to go. It is amazing. It's beautiful. Yeah.
So a close second, and Shawnna would probably say it's there's a battle there, are the Florida Keys.
Oh, wow.
You know, never been to the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
Awesome place.
Mm-hmm.
So those are my top 2.
Yeah, and I would agree. I would agree with you. Yeah. Now the Keys were actually one of our kind of bucket list locations. Yeah. So can't wait to go back at some point.
Nice. What are you looking to? Where are some destinations that you might be wanting to go in 2020?
This is going to be an interesting year. So already the year has started off with some challenges, and we've had to change our plans just like I'm sure everyone else has 15, 20 times. But we are hoping to get to Lake Tahoe. That's one of our locations that we've always wanted to get to. You've actually been there once. I've never been. But we hear it's beautiful. And then hopefully we'll get to, make sure I say the right one. Is it Yellowstone? Because I confuse Yosemite and Yellowstone. Yellowstone, right? With the geysers? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So we want to get to Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. Yosemite's in California. Yellowstone's in Wyoming, Montana. So.
Okay. Always confuse those. So that's a bucket list item. And then we have our first grandbaby due in August.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes. So we need to make our way back towards Arizona around the August time frame. Yep. So this is going to be a year kind of just moseying around, no real set plans like we do for next year. And then 2021, we are hoping to get up to New England and the East Coast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yep.
Can't wait for that.
New England. I mean, you guys are literally going from almost the Pacific all the way across.
Right. Yeah.
It's a lot harder than it sounds. One thing that the U.S. needs to do is improve its roads. I can tell you that already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's some gnarly ones out there.
There are, yeah.
I bet. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to both Yellowstone and Tahoe. I grew up just south of there. So if you take the 50, depending on the size of your rig, if you can take Highway 50 up to get to Tahoe, it's a beautiful drive.
Okay.
And if time permits in Yellowstone, I recommend West Yellowstone. It's just the cutest little town you'll find.
Okay.
Nice.
Good to know. Love those kind of suggestions. Yeah.
I think today we got an alert or an email from someplace that said the national parks are starting to reopen.
Yeah, we did hear something about that.
Hopefully Yellowstone's there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be
Yosemite.
Yeah. See?
Was it Yosemite?
Yeah, Yosemite.
Yeah. Well, Shawnna and Brian, thank you so much for joining us today and answering all my questions or our questions. We really appreciate it. We're really excited to be partnering up. I can't wait to hear about your guys' travels. I'm so jealous. I would say for anyone listening right now, make sure you go to their YouTube page. Their website is amazing. I thank you guys for supporting the RV community and being there to help assist, because I do think it is a very niche group. And Shawnna, to your point, I think it is a very special group, a very welcoming group. And if we could, mirror it into some other clubs or what have you, I think that would be a good thing, because I think you guys are very special. You're very opening and you're very supportive of one another. And we're excited to see where you guys go. I know I so we're willing to get a little bar stool and put them between you guys and just.
She would be so happy with that too.
I know, and I'm actually surprised that one of my kids didn't run in. So that I'm going to chalk it up as a positive Facebook Live.
There you go.
It's been our pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Safe travels. Be healthy.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Same to you. Take care, Jim.